maybe last, as we're coming towards the end, kind of, I'll press on this philosophical point, and I don't even
Yeah.
know if this is going to land and make sense. So if it doesn't, we'll see where it goes. But
Okay.
I grapple with this a lot. I ask this question a lot. I think everything you just said makes a lot of sense, and in many ways is beautiful. In some ways, there is a root to it, which is there's almost like a realization. I think that you're articulating, but correct me, of like I got to witness other people being kind and looking to just appreciate what they have and do what they can for
Mhm.
others, and they were happy. So there's some realization of like I want to be happy too. So if I do that, that will make me happy. Which maybe full stop right there, and that's great, and that's kind of the meaning of life, and that's where we should go. My questioning kind of cynical side sometimes looks at it and says though, like, is there anything bad in that though? Is the fact that it's still rooted in, or there's at least some aspect of it, which is it makes me happy, that whenever we're rooted in that, it leaves too much openness for us to do other things that maybe hurt people because it's still rooted in our own happiness in some way.
Mm.
And I don't know, is that okay? Is that not okay? Maybe I'm missing it. Maybe it's not rooted in our own happiness, right? But it seems like it is. Have you thought about that at all? And I know, kind of abstract philosophical thought, but
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting question to think about that. I think I'm able to differentiate and maybe not all of the time that choosing my own happiness while hurting someone else wouldn't be something that I would choose, right? So I think that I would really figure out a way to kind of look at it. And again, that comes from doing this work for a long time now where I can self-reflect and say, well, wait, what did you just do? Like that impacted other people in a really negative way. Is that really what the intention was? Um, so when I talk about kindness and that it makes me happy because it makes other people happy. So I'm not going to be happy if someone else is miserable about something else I did. I mean, really, that is something that I would really try to avoid. It's not always possible, right? But and again, I probably, when I'm talking about seeing other people be happy in their lives, it's a comparison again, right? And I really do hate comparing myself to other people because I go back to that. We are all different. We are all unique. We all have our own place in the world. But I think when it comes to being kind, when you see someone else doing something kind and you see how much it helps other people and the response that they get, it's it's something that I would want to do as well.
hmm.
So it's not because, ooh, I want this people to say, oh, Simone's so kind. No, because it does make me feel good when someone else feels good. It does not make me feel good when someone else feels bad. And I don't know if I even answered that exactly
No,
how where
I
we were
think you
going,
did.
but
I think
okay.
you did. I mean, there's almost like it's by design. It's we shouldn't be apologetic that being kind makes us feel good, right? Like that's
Yeah.
almost the optimal situation. If it didn't make you feel good, like then it's probably not sustainable for you to do all those kind things if you're not happy, right? And that's probably where we were before, where most people choose then, well, I'm not going to be kind because it doesn't make me feel good, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to do it. It's not sustainable. If you can get to the point where your happiness actually is driven by kindness and helping others, that kind of feels like an optimal state to be at. So it's very intentional in that design, and it's unapologetic about the fact that there's individual happiness that comes from that too. It's not a problem.
Yeah. Cause I do think like we want to be happy, right?
Right.
But I mean, for me, I don't would never choose to be happy at the expense of someone else. So if what I'm going to do is going to hurt someone else just because, and you see it happen all the time, you see people make decisions. I've seen it in many of the jobs that I've had where someone steps on top of someone else to get to the next level. And for me, now that I'm older, that I see that and say, I don't think I would sleep at night. You know, I think I would really struggle with that now. Maybe when I was younger, I don't know. It's hard to look back and say,
You know too much
if
now
yeah, I know too much
yeah,
now to look
yeah.
back and say, would I have done that back then? And maybe I did. I mean,
Mm.
there are moments, sometimes we don't know the impact we have on other people. Um, but now my goal is to really try to do things in a way that I'm modeling for my kids. Like I
Right.
don't want to model being an asshole, you
Yeah.
know. I want them to be self-confident. I want them to self-advocate. I want them to be able to move forward in the world where they feel good about
Mm.
themselves. And that's the ultimate goal for me.
Mm. All right, last question, just to press on this and
Yeah.
make it real for people, right? Very much in the
Okay.
spirit of what we want to do.
Yeah.
So let's make it real. Let's take climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. I don't know exactly when you did that. You wrote a book, and hopefully you appreciate the nature of this question.
Yeah.
Those take a lot of time. It's a
Yeah.
big commitment. you could look at that and say, well, I could have spent that time with my kids, or I could have done something making people happier. But
Mm,
in some ways, that's that, because that's the nuance we were at before, right?
yeah.
Obviously, you know, we're out slashing people's tires because it made you happy, you'd be an asshole, right? But those harder trade-offs to say, hey, I want to write a book or I want to climb this mountain, but there is sacrifice and trade-off in
Mm.
that. How do you think about that balance and managing that to still be kind, but not being, you know, that whole thing?
Well, I think in order to really lead as your best self, you have to take care of yourself. You need some sort of self care. Just giving of yourself 24/7, like you just can't do that. Like it, maybe some people can. I can't. Like, I think that I do need time for myself. And trust me, I had people say to me, well, you have 6 kids at home. Isn't it kind of selfish to leave for 2 weeks to climb a mountain? Like, what if something happens to you? I mean, all the questions went through.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't find it selfish at all. I find it self care. And I want my kids to understand that in order to live their best lives, in order to be their best selves, they have to take time for themselves. It's not something that I do all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I do in moments, in chunks, so that I can kind of regroup and say, wait, in order for my kids to be their best selves, they have to see me be my best self. And, you know, if I'm just miserable all the time, they're going to be miserable all the time. And I think they really appreciated it. I think they were, I mean, I have great stories about it, which is for another day, but, you know, they were so proud. And that was like a thing for them, would be like, my mom climbed Kilimanjaro, and other kids were like, she did what?
Mm-hmm.
And so I loved that they felt really, you know, really proud about that. And